We are a little over 1 week into NFL free agency, and I thought it would be a great time to bring you guys a Jacksonville Jaguars mock draft. This time, it's my third mock draft covering the Jacksonville Jaguars. And, we've got the compensatory picks that are officially announced, so we've got the full list of picks that James Gladstone will have come April. Now, again, he could make some moves, obviously, but we're going to get into it on today's show. This is Jags Now, presented by Chat Sports. I am your host, Cullen Brown, and as you see this picks on your screen, the Jaguars have 11 total draft picks. 1 in the second, 3 in the third, a fourth, 2 fifths, a sixth, and 3 seventh-round picks. We're going to get into this mock draft here, getting into the second week of NFL free agency, but I want to hear from you guys. Do you guys want more Jaguars draft content, whether that be mock drafts like this, whether it be potential draft targets, whatever the case may be? If you guys want more draft content on the channel, hit that like button. It's a great way to show me and my bosses here at Chat Sports that we want more draft content here on the channel, and I love making this content for you guys. So if you don't want it, I guess don't like the video, but if you still want to support me, it's a free way of doing it. Hit that like button also if you're interested in some more draft content. All right, so now that we're getting into the third mock draft, we've stayed put at pick 56. We've traded up in our previous mock draft, and for this mock draft, I've decided that I want to trade down in the second round, kind of just back 7 spots. The New England Patriots came calling, and this is how the trade went. Jaguars sent 56th, 124, so their only 4th-round pick, and a 6th-round pick at 203 to New England in exchange for 63 and 95. And I think if you're Jacksonville, the only way that you would look to trade back is to gain another 3rd-round pick, because I think that's where a lot of the sweet spot is for a lot of this draft talent. But I want to hear from you guys before we kind of get into this mock. What should the Jags do come draft night? Should they stay put at 56 overall? Should they trade up? Should they trade down? I want to hear from you guys down below in the comment section below. I think personally, either trading up or staying put is the right move for Jacksonville, but we're going to explore the possibility of whether or not trading down actually makes some sense for Jacksonville. So, without any further ado, let's get into the first pick of this mock draft. And at number 63 overall, I have the Jaguars selecting Grayson Halton, the defensive tackle out of Oklahoma. And there's a lot of things to like about Grayson Halton, who has been really sliding up draft boards as of late. He's 6'2", 292 pounds, from San Diego, California, and had decent production for the Oklahoma Sooners this past season. And he's got a lot of talent. He's not one of your bigger defensive tackles. He's definitely more on the leaner side, but does give you that kind of quickness and burst, and gives you a lot of pros in terms of, his active hands, good closing speed when he does get in the backfield, whether he's going after a ball carrier or rushing the quarterback. And I just think that if you're Jacksonville, defensive tackle is still a position that so far through free agency, they really haven't addressed outside of bringing back a guy like Matt Dickerson. I want to get younger at this position. I think Grayson Halton would be a great addition into this Jaguars defense. And the last 2 years has really stuck out for the Oklahoma Sooner, who, over the last two seasons combined, has over 60 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, has over 8.5 sacks from an interior position. That's not easy to do in college. And I'll be frank, right? Like, he's not a perfect prospect. He lacks anchor given the fact of his lack of size, which he could add on in the NFL, but he will need to get stronger going up against some really good interior offensive linemen. And he does have shorter arms, so that could, be a negative whenever he's trying to disengage blocks and trying to block shed in the run game. So this would be somebody that I think would be more of an interior pass rush presence for the Jaguars in the defensive tackle room, but it would be a nice change of pace to pair him alongside a guy like Devon Hamilton, whether they keep an Eric Armstead or what have you. I think he would be a really interesting selection, and at 63 overall, it wouldn't shock me if Grayson Halton makes it into the second round come April. Moving on to round number 3, and this is one of my favorite draft prospects of the entire lot. It's Kamari Ramsey, the safety out of USC, who spent his last 2 seasons in college with the Trojans before he was actually at UCLA, across town, and then transfers over to USC and really just kind of, lit LA and Southern California on fire with his play. And he's got a really good sense of traits as a defensive back. A lot of these defenses in the NFL nowadays, they really preach, having not only skillful play in the secondary, but also versatility. And I think Kamari Ramsey echoes that to a T. He can play in the slot. He can play that single high safety. He's even played in the box a fair shit of times. And he really was a key integral part of USC's defense over the last couple of seasons. And if you're Jacksonville, I don't think it's ever a bad idea to add, multiple guys in the secondary that can be versatile and can play different spots, say if you have injuries or what have you. So I think as a safety option, if the Jaguars are looking to upgrade next to Antonio Johnson, I think Kamari Ramsey could be an option for the Jaguars there in the third round if he makes it that far, because he may go during round 2. Round number 3. Now this one, I'm kind of curious to see where you guys feel on this one. At pick number 88, I went with Sam Roush, the tight end out of Stanford, who, I'll be honest, is more of a vertical threat as a tight end. I think he's got some skills as a receiving tight end at the next level. Not the greatest blocker, but it shows a willingness to. And he had a really good yards per catch average at Stanford this past season at just over 11 yards per reception. The Jaguars, they obviously are committed to Britton Strange. They're going to see what else they're going to do with the tight end room. They did cut, Johnny Mundt. So do the Jags potentially look at, upgrading that tight end 2 spot with a guy like Sam Roush and having kind of a dual, some more 2 tight end sets to really get vertical and give Trevor Lawrence another option? And I think that Sam Roush is an option round 3, maybe even day 3, but round 3 I certainly think is the ceiling on where he could potentially go. So Lance Zierlein, who does a great job of covering the NFL draft for NFL.com, he compared him as a pro comp to Dawson Knox, who I think Dawson Knox next to Dalton Kincaid has been a really good tight end too for Buffalo over these past few seasons. And I'd be very curious to see if Liam Cohen will be interested in deploying more two tight end sets. So they did re-sign Quentin Morris earlier this offseason. So could that be a potential option? I'm not sure, but I went with Sam Roush just as a potential kind of wrinkle into Liam Cohen's offense, and I think he could produce a lot of good numbers in this Jaguars offense. Moving on to round number 3, the third of 4 third-round picks that we have in this mock draft, which is pretty crazy to say. I went with a guy from the University of Michigan, Jayshawn Barham, the edge, who I think has done a really good job in run defense, which Jaguars, like those edges that can really set the edge in the run game. But Jayshawn Barham, who, I think improved as a pass rusher throughout his collegiate career, didn't have the greatest production with only 4 sacks this past year, but he is somebody that, 10 tackles for loss. He's 6'3", 243 pounds, so a little bit on the lighter side, but can give you some speed rushes from the outside. And when you're thinking about the Jaguars, edge pass rushers, you've got Josh Hines-Allen, you've got Trayvon Walker, who are set to be your kind of starters. You need to build some depth behind those guys. And I like Danny Strigo a lot, but if you can bring in Barham, I really like this edge group for Jacksonville. He would be somebody that I'm looking at going into 2026. In the final third-round pick, we had to address the linebacker position because Devin Lloyd obviously left in free agency for the Carolina Panthers. So with the number 100th overall pick in this mock draft, I went with Keyshawn Elliott, the linebacker out of Arizona State, who, I'm not going to lie, he's more of a developmental kind of prospect, but he's got a lot of stuff that you like that I think he can provide at the next level. You see the numbers on screen. 98 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 7 sacks. He is definitely more comfortable playing downhill. And again, I still think he needs to develop, especially as a coverage linebacker at the next level. But he's got all the physical tools to be a really good linebacker at the next level. And if you're Jacksonville, you just kind of sit there and your draft strategy is if you're not able to get a linebacker that you like in the second round, which who knows how the board will fall, at this point, do you potentially take a guy like Keyshawn Elliott, who you can kind of sit there and develop behind Foye Oluokun, and then maybe develops into a starting linebacker that you could have for years to come? I think he would be an interesting option for Anthony Campanelli's defense come next season. Moving on to day 3 here, where they lost Travis Etienne, which it still gives me. I got to pause every time I say it because it's like, no, it's not Etienne, it's Etienne. They moved on from Travis Etienne during NFL free agency. They did pick up Chris Rodriguez, but I still think the Jags might look at day 3 as a potential place where they could add a running back to this rotation. I went with Katron Allen in the 5th round, who for the Penn State Nittany Lions had some nice moments last year. Again, Penn State as a whole didn't really perform up to snuff, but I think Katron Allen, especially in the short yardage game, is one of the better running backs in this draft class. Had over 1,300 yards last season and doesn't have quite that breakaway speed that you would ideally want for a running back at his size, but I still think can provide a lot of good in the receiving game. Like I said, in between the tackles, has really good vision, patience. There's a lot to like with Katron Allen. If you're able to get him in the 5th, if Jacksonville truly wants to add to this running back room, I think he would be a nice option there next to Bashal Tootin, LaQuinn Allen, and obviously Chris Rodriguez. Moving on to the other of the 5th-round pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I've got Kevin Coleman Jr., the receiver out of Missouri, who I really like. He is also one of my draft crushes in this draft class, who he's got a lot of speed, got a really good run after catch ability, 732 yards on 11 yards per reception. He is a guy that you simply just want to get the ball in his hands and let him go to work. And for Jacksonville, we've kind of talked about on the show, you've got your top 3 in set, and really top 4 with Travis Hunter kind of having a, temporary, not temporary, but kind of like more of a reduced role as wide receiver 4. In Jacoby Myers, you obviously have Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr. The Jags, I would imagine, still want to have a guy, later in their, or deeper in their receiving room, rather, that can still contribute, make plays, and also maybe add something on special teams. Kevin Coleman Jr. gives you all of that. I think he's going to be a guy that really explodes if he's taken on day 3 and thriving in an offense somewhere. Maybe that's Jacksonville with Liam Cohen. All right, so for the final 3 picks, they are all in the 7th round. I'm just going to reveal them all at once here. They're all guys that you're going to bank on upside and potential with. Taylon Green, the athletic, do-it-all quarterback for the Arkansas Razorbacks. I'm not sure if he is a quarterback at the next level, but he is certainly an interesting athlete that at worst case you can throw on your practice squad and have him compete with Nick Mullins for the backup quarterback spot in Jacksonville. James Thompson Jr. actually did really well for the Fighting Illini last year. You need to still add depth at the defensive tackle room, still get younger. I don't mind adding him in the 7th round. And then Keegan Trost, I forgot how you pronounce it, so apologies there. I think he's going to be more of a guard at the next level. Pro Football Focus graded him out as a really good offensive lineman for the Tigers this past season. If you're looking there in the 7th round just to kind of add depth and maybe have him as a potential if he's able to kick out as an offensive tackle on day 3, I certainly wouldn't blame the Jags for looking to upgrade that position in the 7th round. So that is going to be it for my Jags third mock draft here on the channel. Graded for me, A, B, C, D, or F, with Grayson Halton, Kamari Ramsey, Sam Roush, Jayshon Barham, Keyshawn Elliott, Katron Allen, Kevin Coleman, Taylon Green, Thompson, and Trost. I think overall, if I had to be honest with myself, I'd give it probably like a B-. I still think that the Jaguars, if they want to add the linebacker spot, they probably need to do it earlier, but I wanted to kind of throw a change of pace mock draft in there just to see how things would land. So you guys let me know down below in the comment section. And again, if you made it to the end of this video, we greatly appreciate it. You know what time it is. Spam Duval down below in the comment section, and we'll see you on the next one.